Underneath all of that, the Lyme causes anxiety, which then causes, my body's very sensitive to everything. So if the Lyme causes anxiety, and then your body just, if it's too much, your body just shuts down. And I think that's what DP was. It was my anxiety. It's basically a vortex, and you go around and around and around in circles, and your body can't handle it anymore, and it kind of shuts itself down to protect itself. But I remember there was one point in my there was one point where I was like, I don't want to feel anymore, and I got my wish. I wasn't able to feel, but I wasn't able to feel anything, So it's kind of be careful what you wish for. But
so what did the doctor do? It was a psychiatrist, yes, or
for which one?
The
There's so many
first one
different
that you
phenomenons. The first one, she kept giving me anxiety medications, and I was basically, I was never a drinker. I was never and it's just kind of like I could see how someone can go down that road. Do you know what I mean? It was I needed Xanax every single, I needed pills every single second to talk to someone, or to physically get out of the house. That it was very, very scary. I had, I had bottles of wine, and that's all I could. That was the only way I could talk to people, and it was strange, and it was really strange when I was talking to this drug addict, and we're sitting there, and she's like, she's explaining her symptoms. I'm like, I'm not doing drugs and I'm not drinking, but man, the way we view life is very similar, like very, very similar. So, and then to realize that all this was Lyme disease is like, I could have saved so much. Like, I could have saved so much torture, because I'm like, I'm going crazy. Like, someone just please lock me up. I'm going insane, So it's like I could have. If someone would have just said, tested me when I had depersonalization and said, Heather, you have Lyme disease, my life would have just been so much easier. But, it just didn't manifest itself physically. I had no physical symptoms. It was completely neurological. So I just, what are you supposed to do? You just follow the masses. You're like, okay,
right.
So, and so I could talk about recovery right now, where, I don't know but after I had derealization, then I got tested for Lyme disease and came out positive. I had 3 tests. One was the Western blot, which came out positive. I also had a test for mygenics, which came out positive. And
for what? Eugenics?
Igenics.
Igenics. What is
it? IGEN EX, actually. I can't remember the spelling. But they are a lab out in California, and they, I had a lot of bands, and I had co-infections. I had Babesia, auricula, Bartonella, Hensley, Mycoplasma, Epstein-Barr. I've had the whole gamut. So
that sounds like a lot of money for a lot of tests. Huh?
Yes, it was a lot of money for a lot of tests, and then there's a part of you that's like, no, it can't be Lyme, like it can't, and then it just you keep going with the tests, spinal taps, and I'm just, my gosh, all the money that's spent on this disease is really.
So how much did all the testing cost you?
All the tests, oh my gosh, I don't even know. I don't even know, because my insurance didn't pay for half of this. So.
Oh, they did pay for half.
They didn't. They
didn't.
So it's hard.
So we're talking about thousands.
Thousands, in the thousands. Almost,
more than 10,000.
Almost like almost near bankruptcy figures. Yeah, a lot. I've heard people.
At least finally, you knew what you had.
Yeah,
you had,
yeah. But also people use it. I used a PICC line at one point, so that was a lot of money too as well. That could be upwards from $2,000 a month. So it's a lot. All this is a lot. Doctor's appointments can range anywhere from $900 to $1,000 for initial consultation, and your insurance doesn't pay for it, and it's you're desperate, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're really desperate to just get better, and you know that something's wrong, and you're scared, and there's no there's no research. There's nothing. Like there's just it's just you're just basically all these people with Lyme disease, which I did too. You just go online and you're just like Googling as much as you possibly can just to figure out like what you're gonna do and how you're gonna put food on the table and how you're gonna be able to, you know.
Okay, but the self research and all this came later, yes, because first you did antibiotics, yes.
Yeah, I did antibiotics.
For how long did you do this?
The fall 2008, I started antibiotics. I had major chronic fatigue. When I started antibiotics, I was on doxycycline originally, and oh my gosh, that was really bad. I was after I was on antibiotics, I called my doctor like a million times crying. I was like, please help me. I'm like, you have no idea what this is like. I remember I couldn't.
Because the side effects were so bad, or
I just, you know what? It was the killing of the Lyme. It was the neurotoxins. It was really, I mean, it was just really bad. This is when my derealization got really bad. This is when everything was just moving, you know, everything was moving. It was very scary. It's hard for me to explain. But I was like holding on to the sides of buildings because my perception was off.
You used to get lost in the city.
I got lost. I've lived here my whole entire life, and I got lost. I didn't know where I lived. I couldn't read. Someone asked me to read something, and I couldn't read a sentence anymore. My childhood memories were wiped out. Everything in my childhood, I couldn't remember anything. The only thing I knew was my name. I mean, it was like born identity. You know, like you're like completely starting over. You're like, I don't know. I don't know. So, it was bad for 3 months. And I called my doctor, and the nurse was like, we're just tired of you calling. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like we have so many Lyme patients. And I just knew that this is like, what's going on? You know, like it's just, I never really saw anything like this, you know. So I said to someone, I'm like, oh my gosh, if people really felt like this should be on the front of the New York Times, you know. Like it's just, this is awful. So then I did get better with antibiotics. So I definitely think it killed off a lot of the Lyme. But you know, my doctor and we were constantly switching things around. You know, he's like, oh, why don't you try Biaxin, and then why don't you try Flagyl? You know, the effects from some of these are very, you know, they're very brutal. So I want to talk about my relapse because that was very scary. You know, I thought I was out of the woods. I was like, you know, I was
after the antibiotics.
After the antibiotics, I thought I was pretty much out of the woods. And what happened is that in July, it was like early July. It was like right before Independence Day. I'm sitting in my doctor's office, and I'll never forget this. I relapsed really badly, and all my symptoms from even before, from like, you know, fall of 2008, not the depersonalization, but the derealization came back, and I was really distraught. I mean, I was really distraught because I felt like, you know, I just wasted so much time. And I remember the doctors coming in, and you know, they're taking my blood, you know, the usual routine, and I'm seeing a doctor under my insurance because I'm totally broke at this point, and you know, he's taking blood, and the doctors are laughing, the nurses are laughing because my veins are so small, like